Hello, we're so glad to have you with us today. I'm Louann Fulmer, and what would your money be saying to you if it could talk? It might be asking you, do you need more guaranteed income to live confidently in retirement, or are you too aggressively invested into the market? Andrew is here to explain what to do with your retirement assets. And right now, the American economy has hit another roadblock on the road to recovery. We have another disappointing jobs report we're going to talk about that could actually have a ripple effect on retirees. And if you're taking withdrawals from your retirement accounts, you've got to be on the lookout for what they're calling a tax torpedo that could be headed your way. Andrew explains that today on our show. Here's the phone number we want you to have handy. 800-848-8768. 848-8768. You can call Andrew and his team for a complimentary visit. Plus, you can find them online anytime at swan-capital.com. Capital is spelled with 2 A's. And Andrew, a big hello to you again.
Hey, I'm so glad to be with you to talk about this economic speed bump.
I know. Oh, my gosh. This is going to be a good show, and I learned so much from you, Andrew. So let's get going on this. All right, like I said, Americans' economic recovery hit a major roadblock as the August jobs numbers were released, and they were only 235,000 jobs that have been added back into the economy. Lowest number since January, honestly. The projected number they thought was going to happen was about 700,000 new jobs added in August. Sam Stovall is chief investment strategist for a financial research firm, SFRA. And he says that the biggest misses were in the areas of hospitality, leisure, retail, and education. So, Andrew, I want you to listen to him here.
Many people are worried and are therefore staying away from either jobs or outside activities, et cetera, which either has a direct or a cascading effect on employment.
All right. So there's good news, though. He says he believes that we could see some stronger jobs numbers in the coming months. Let's hope he's right.
As we move into a traditionally more seasonal period for employment, as we see likely the Delta variant effect beginning to wane, I think that could allow for a big pickup in the employment numbers.
So I want to get your opinion on this, Andrew. What's your reaction here?
Well, I think economists were also very surprised by the April jobs report, and many people were very saddened by those results. But over the next few months, they did improve and they bounced back. But I do think this time could be a little different. I feel like the market is starting to cool down. We've seen a huge run up in the stock market. We've seen a lot of people that have lost their benefits since September 6th that are now not getting any unemployment benefits. So they're going to go to the workplace if they are going to. So I think the market is starting to cool down, and I think you're seeing that starting to reflect itself in the job market. But that's just my assumption.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I kind of believe that too. People are now finally going to be forced to go back to work. Right. I want to talk about how concerned baby boomers, even the early Gen Xers, should be about this latest jobs report. Because here's the deal: when people are not employed, they're not paying into Social Security, right?
Well, certainly. I mean, we knew that Social Security was running dry and was going to start having financial troubles in 2030, 2035 were many estimates. But you have things like COVID, which slowed down employment roles and people paying into Social Security, and that really becomes an issue. I do think that many 60-year-olds today have nothing to worry about. I think fearmongers take control of the television often too much to try to tell you to be scared, and that's not the case. Now, I think if you're 50, I think you may see a reduction in benefits. I also think you will certainly see an increase in taxes, especially in FICA taxes. For those who are still working like myself, I think we're going to be paying more to make sure that Social Security does not run out. Because if Social Security was pulled out from the American people, you would have insecurity in the markets.
All right, so you kind of said really the Gen Xers are the ones that might be affected by Social Security and then, of course, an increase in taxes. So do you think baby boomers are going to be okay? You think they can rely on Social Security in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Again, don't listen to the fear mongers too much. The government has a lot of cards up its sleeve of adding more taxation on future generations. So I would worry about your grandchildren and your children about they're going to be levied all those taxes to make sure that you still have the Social Security that was promised. Now, the government does have a really good reputation of grandfathering people in, and people want to gloss over that. That's a fact. Anytime Social Security has made major changes, oftentimes they were grandfathered in. They gave you a window of time to make those changes, apply for Social Security, and get under that umbrella before those changes actually were enacted. And I think you'll still see that today. Also, keep in mind that if they increased FICA taxes, many estimates say if they increased it by just 1%, that would put it out to $2,100. And I assure you that the federal government will do as little as possible just to kick the can farther enough so that they can get reelected. So don't you worry. They'll find a way.
I love 2,100. That seems like a long time away.
Exactly. They'll say, I'll be dead in 2,100. Let's kick it to that.
Exactly.
To the can.
Let's kick it down the road. I love it. Well, I bet you one of the number one questions you have from retirees has to do with claiming Social Security benefits, right? So I want you to explain, we do this show every week, and you offer a chance for our listeners to come in and visit with you and tell them what you talk about.
Sure. When we sit down and we go through a 1-hour sleep study, we're not talking about sleep apnea equipment. No, Swan Capital is our goal to help families sleep well at night in retirement. After working 30 years, you deserve to be able to sleep at night with your retirement dollars, to have confidence, to take the trips that you've always wanted to do, to learn the hobbies you've always wanted to have, finally the time to go pursue. That's what it's all about. So a 1-hour sleep study is where we sit down and basically we answer all the questions that you, after listening to this show for years, you think, I would love to ask him one-on-one these questions. Well, we'll answer those questions, but we'll also go through your retirement readiness. So basically, I give you a report card, and that doesn't sound very exciting, I'm sure, especially if you were like me in school. I spent most of my time outside the classroom looking inside the classroom because that's where I got kicked out. But, I'll give you an A in the categories you're doing really well. I'll give you a pat on the back. But on the categories that you can do better, I'll give you a B or C, and I'll say, hey, you can improve this grade if you just took these steps. And you can take that information, walk away, and never see us again and try to implement it yourself. You could hire us to help you fix it, but that's what a 1-hour sleep study is. So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768.
And then I want to guide you to their website, too. They have a lot of great resources there. It's swan-capital.com. Swan and a little dash, hyphen, and then capital.com. And Swan Capital is an independent firm, and what that means is that they are innovative in finding solutions to help you live well in retirement, help you figure out when to start Social Security, or maybe wait. I mean, they have years of experience in the financial services industry, and they want to guide you about your retirement. So anyway, check them out there, and we're just so glad you joined us today. You're listening to What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. I'm Louann Fulmer. All right, so it's a lot easier to find help on how to save money, right? I mean, that's just what we do all our lives. If you Google how to save money for retirement, you're going to get 15 times as many results as the biggie, how to withdraw money during retirement. So, Andrew, tell people, how you withdraw that money can make a huge difference in how long your nest egg can last, obviously.
Well, those Google search results that you just mentioned is the disconnect that we specialize in. Many people spend their life, 30, 40 years saving for retirement. And then when they finally retire on a Friday and they walk into retirement on a Monday, they say, I got used to 30, 40 years of paychecks. Where do I start pulling money from? And if they taught Wealth 101 in high school, I missed the class. No one ever taught me how to not only barely save for retirement, but definitely not how to spend my money in retirement. And that's why we help families have tax diversification and have various buckets that have roles and objectives. And I'll give you for instance, if you have money in CDs, maybe you have money in IRAs, and you have money in a Roth IRA. You have to ask yourself, which is the right order to spend your money? For some families, it might make sense to take money out of their taxable accounts and then take their IRAs and convert it to a Roth IRA while we let the Roth IRA grow for the rest of, their retirement. For some other families, we might spend their IRAs first. My whole point of saying this is that there's a right way and a wrong way to spend your money in retirement that's custom to you. And it's not just as simple as when I retire, I'll start taking money out of our IRA. There's a lot more math and a lot more art to making sure that's the right way for you.
Right. That's what I'm learning is there's way more to it than we really realize. Now, there are going to be people who delay Social Security to age 70, but then in a couple of years, they're going to have to turn around and start taking those required minimum distributions out at age 72. That's going to push them into a higher tax bracket, possibly. So this is where that tax torpedo comes in. Some analysts are calling it the tax torpedo that can launch us into that higher tax bracket, force us to dig deeper into our savings. How can we avoid that?
Sure. If you're listening, you have money in an IRA or in 401k, and many of your friends are not taking money from their IRAs. They're delaying as long as possible. I encourage you, don't follow them down that track, because you'll find out that you're going to be tax torpedoed. And what that means is you're already having your pension and your Social Security, and then here comes this additional income from your RMD that cannot be converted to a Roth. In fact, it has to go into a taxable account, oftentimes a brokerage account, a money market, where you even pay taxes once when you take it out of the IRA, but once it goes into a CD, a money market, you're paying taxes again on the interest. And what's sad is if tax rates increase in 2022, which many analysts and many political pundits all think that tax rates are going to be increased in 2022. The administration wants taxes to increase in 2022. That means you'll not only be tax torpedoed once, but potentially twice. So what we're helping clients do is say, don't delay taking your RMD. Get ahead of it. There's this golden decade, Louann, that exists from the age of 59 and a half to 72, where you have basically this golden decade opportunity to take money out of your IRA before your RMD is required and start shifting it to something tax-free, i.e. like a Roth IRA, where it can grow tax-free, you can withdraw it tax-free, and it transfers to your spouse and your kids tax-free. But that's why we have to integrate a CPA, because again, financial advisors and brokers don't talk about this often enough. And that's why we have to integrate CPAs and estate planning into the planning we do here at Swan Capital.
All right. And you are offering a chance for our listeners to come in and see you. So let's do it again. Give them the information they need to know.
Absolutely. So to schedule your 1 hour sleep study, if you're saying, Andrew, that's me, I have an IRA and 401k and I'm 65, 68 years old and I haven't taken any money out of my IRA, or I might be tax torpedoed if I wait till age 72, what can I do? Well, one of the retirement readiness grades that we give is about tax planning. And if you say, Andrew, my financial advisor, my broker has never even asked to see a copy of my tax return, let alone give me advice about the taxation on my investments, I highly encourage you to schedule a 1 hour sleep study where we'll answer your questions about this tax torpedo, but also give you strategies that you can try to work yourself, tell your advisor how to do their job, hire us to help you fix it. But again, you're going to walk out with some really good tangible info. So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768.
No, we're not done yet. Andrew still has a lot more to talk about. This is What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. We'll be right back with more. Hi, you're listening to What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. I'm Louann Fulmer. Andrew is president and CEO at Swan Capital right here on the Gulf Coast. And for over 15 years, Andrew has been helping people just like you in retirement. He wants to help you feel confident that your nest egg is going to last as long as you need it to. That is his goal for you. And today he's offering a chance for you to come in and see him. So listen for that phone number and you can call in and make that appointment, or you could just do a 15-minute phone call if you would prefer to do that. All right, so our national conversation seems to be shifting when it comes to mental health and how you take care of yourself. This is Simone Biles this summer.
I say put mental health first, because if you don't, then you're not going to enjoy your sport and you're not going to succeed as much as you want to. So it's okay sometimes to even sit out the big competitions to focus on yourself, because it shows how strong of a competitor and person that you really are.
That was a tough time this summer, Andrew. Of course, that was Simone Biles, Olympic gymnast. And that was her talking to the media after she withdrew from her competition in the 2021 Games in Tokyo. And I think we were all aching for her when we watched that, because we knew that had to have been such a big deal for her to pull out of competition. Here we all thought
Certainly.
she was going to take it, and take the gold in all of her events. And then that happened. So, Andrew, we don't always talk about it a lot on this show, but there's a mental health aspect to preparing for retirement as well. How have you seen this come up with the people that you help?
Well, I believe I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this. Living my life through other people's lenses, hundreds of families, I've seen the effect that mental health can really be a deciding factor when to retire and the enjoyment factor of retirement. And if you think about it, you spend most of your life at work, especially 30, 40 years. You spend more time with the people that you work with than your actual family. And that's really important to get right. I mean, your fellow coworkers become your work family, if you will. I mean, the first question that people often ask you, which I don't agree with, but people do ask, is where do you work? What do you do for a living?
Oh, yeah.
If you think about your self-worth, it comes to the accomplishments that you have, the articles you've written, the industry publications that you contribute to. And so your occupation definitely is tied to your mental health. So I think it's very important when I chat with clients to talk about, what are you retiring to? You don't want to just retire. You want to retire to something.
Yeah, I love that idea of retire to something. I got to tell you, I'm 62. I'm not going to retire anytime soon, but I am thinking about it now. And when I had my hip replaced several years ago, there I was at home recovering, and God, 3:30 in the afternoon was so boring to me. And I just, and I think, what would my life be like if I didn't work? Would I just be at home? And I think about it now, too. When I walk my dog, there's nobody in the neighborhood out, because everybody's at work. And I really do wonder how I'm going to adjust to, I think I'm going to have to find something. And that's the relationship that you have with your clients. Right? You kind of help them figure out what to do, and explain why that's important for the type of planning that you do.
Well, my job is to help them push the envelope. I have to make sure that they don't run out of money. All money does, it doesn't buy you happiness, but it does buy you options. So let me ask you, Louann, where's your favorite trip? Where's a place that you've gone either internationally or domestically? Where's your favorite place?
Germany.
Germany. So
Germany.
when you went to Germany, you may have been able to spend a week there, 2 weeks there, I'm not sure. But imagine when you're retired, though, you'll be able to spend as much time as you want in Germany because you don't have anything to go back to. You don't have a job to report back to.
Right.
And so what I help families do is work on that bucket list and say, you've always wanted to go to Italy. Where in Italy?
Well,
How long do you think you'll need to spend?
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's a real blast. What I get to do is I help people, really push the envelope, is because many times they didn't think financially they could spend 3 or 4 weeks in Germany. And I say, of course, the budget allows for that. Financially, you're not going to run out of money. You're going to be fine. Take an extra week.
Wow. Okay. That would be so nice to be told you're good. And the awesome thing is, you don't have to go. When you get back from your vacation, you can recover before having,
That's right.
You can have all the time you want to recover. You know how it is when you get back from a vacation. You need a vacation from the vacation. So
you need 300 emails to read. And, that's the vacation you need after reading those 300 emails.
Exactly. All right. So you in a sense, help take that burden of worrying about money off their shoulders, don't you?
Well, that's why we named it Swan Capital, is when I was sitting down with my dad, I didn't want to name the firm after myself. I said, that'll be a little too egotistical if I did that. I said, what I want to do is I want families to have peace of mind. I want them to have confidence in retirement. I want them to sleep well at night. That's our goal, to help clients sleep well at night. And he said Swan. And I was like, that's perfect. Sleep well at night.
Love that. Sleep well at night. And you do something called a sleep study. And like you always joke around, it's not a sleep apnea study, but you do help people figure out, if they're ready for retirement and if they're able to go on that dream trip to Germany or Italy or wherever it is that they want. So I want you to explain what that sleep study is all about, please.
So again, that 1 hour sleep study is a 1 hour visit where we can answer all the questions that you can muster about your retirement. And after you've got all your questions answered, basically it's a 2-page questionnaire that I go through with you that has the particulars about your retirement, your income today, what your income is going to be in retirement. And then basically I give you a retirement report card. I'll say you're really doing well from liability, from creditors and predators. Your money's protected. You get an A in that category. But when it comes to that retirement income plan, to make sure that you can spend 5 weeks in Germany without batting an eye and worrying about the budget, we need a better income strategy. I'm going to give you a B in this category because there's no retirement income plan. You have assets, but there's no retirement income plan. And it's really powerful, Louann, when people see on a one page that they have straight A's and they're ready for retirement. That gives them a permission slip sometimes, like we're working with a client right now where I told her, you can retire in the next 6 months. She said, are you sure? I said, absolutely. You got straight A's.
Oh my gosh, how fun. All right, so give your information out, please, and let everybody know what that first meeting is like when you come in and meet them.
Sure. So when you call, let me give you that number. It's 1-800-848-8768. When you call, Suzette or Lauren will pick up the phone and they'll schedule you a very 1 hour visit, very short visit. That way we can get your questions answered initially. And she's going to mail you a questionnaire. It's 2 pages. It's not 8 pages. It's just 2 pages. You'll come in. She'll give you a cup of coffee. We have the cookie of the day. And then we'll bring you back and I'll sit down one-on-one, answer all your questions. And then I'll show you the categories you're doing really well at and the categories that you definitely have some room for improvement. So to schedule that 1 hour sleep study, all you have to do is call 1-800-848-8768.
And then I want to guide you to the website, too. Their website is swan-capital.com. So Swan with a dash or a hyphen, capital, CIPITAL.com. And they are here to help you with your retirement. And imagine the anxiety relief that you could feel after you see your retirement planned out for the next 30 or 40 years. That's what this is all about. They're helping you. They're giving you just some guidance on where you're going to go. You have to have a plan. We all plan out our vacations. You know, you've got to plan out your retirement, and there's a lot that goes into it. So make sure that you contact Andrew and his team. They would love to help you out. And you're listening to What Your Money Would Say. I'm Louann Fulmer with Andrew McNair. So there's a new research that indicates that puzzles and card games can help delay the onset of Alzheimer's by about 5 years. For a lot of people, the idea of cognitive decline is scary. I honestly think it is for everybody. I've seen it happen in my family. My husband's mother had Alzheimer's. How can planning in advance take away some of the concern about not being able to make decisions later in life?
Well, Louann, I had no idea about this about probably 5 years ago when I started actually teaching at the Pensacola State College as an adjunct professor. I learned about the Department of Continuing Education, and I thought continuing education was just for professionals. I was so shocked that they had this huge course curriculum for retirees or people that have spare time to learn new things. And I'll give you just a couple examples. I was reading through the course catalog, and I'm like, I would love to take some of these. Photos in nature, photography of people, acrylic painting, French conversational, so you can learn your French. They had instant Italian as well. They said they had a class called Write Your Life Story. They had a class on how to write nonfiction, how to write a fiction book. They also had even Tai Chi, a class on Tai Chi. So, I mean, I don't know anything about these things. I really don't. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I went to a class where I could fail the class? It's not like I need the grade to get a slip of paper called a diploma. I don't need a diploma. I can go back to my local university like Pensacola State College or a local university that has this department, a part of their curriculum that's in addition, that's actually designed for people that are typically over the age of 50. I can learn new things, and even if I'm not really good at it, I fail at the class, I can still walk away saying, man, I tried Tai Chi. I like that. That was a really cool experience, but I might not do that again.
You just brought up some really good ideas for me. I'm like, okay,
really
I'm going to do some of that, because you go, what's that called when you go and you just observe the class and
Yes.
you don't get the grade, and you just, you can go. I remember when I took German in college, some older individuals observing the class and taking our German conversational class. So
That's
you
really
just got
cool.
me right there. And write your life story. I love that idea. Oh gosh, you have so many good ideas, and we're going to get some more into mental health in retirement when we come back. But again, you have so many resources at hand and everything. Andrew, tell our listeners how they can get a hold of some of those.
Sure. So we write a weekly blog that we're really proud of. We actually write it in-house, and all you have to do is go to swan-capital.com/blog, and we write about articles that are really important for a retiree to make sure that they're prepared for retirement. We talk about things like Social Security and taxes, and I try to write without all the jargon that is often used in the financial industry. I grew up in the financial industry. I've only done this since I was 14. I've been working at a financial firm, so it's actually hard for me when I write these articles. I strip all the jargon. I just say, if I had never read any finance book, I want someone to talk to me about my retirement, and that's exactly what we do with our blog. So check it out at swan-capital.com/blog.
All right. And we're not done yet. We're going to be right back with a little more. More than 2 million Americans age 65 and older do suffer from some sort of depression. Believe it or not, working on a financial plan can help reduce the chances of struggling in mental health later in life. We're going to talk about that coming up next. This is What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. Hi, you're listening to What Your Money Would Say. I'm Louann Fulmer here with Andrew McNair. He's president and CEO of Swan Capital. They have offices in Pensacola and Daphne, Alabama. And Andrew has been a trusted leader in the financial services field for over 15 years now, and he's sharing some awesome ideas about retirement planning. Now, an online therapy resource called BetterHelp.com, they say that in many cases, depression happens in retirement when there is a lack of preparation. So if you don't have a plan for how you're going to spend your time, you're more likely going to feel depressed in retirement. Nobody wants that. That's kind of a worry, I think, for everybody. Is this something you spend a lot of time on when you're helping people retire?
Yes, Louann, we definitely talk about bucket lists, because you have to prepare in retirement. How am I going to actually spend my days? If you just say, well, I'm going to, keep my pajamas on all week, that is not a good retirement. We have to make a list of all the places you want to go. And we want to make a list of all the classes and things you want to learn and hobbies you want to pick up. If you've thought about picking up woodworking, retirement is the perfect time to pick that up and get the tools and make space in the garage for it.
Heck yeah. Then you can just start doing that the rest of your life. That can be your new hobby. I love it. Now, where does financial planning come in, though, when you are talking about how people are going to spend their time?
Well, financial planning, I think, is essential to mental health and retirement, and here's why. If we have one spouse that is being very restrictive with the budget, they want to really have like a shoestring budget in retirement, it's really sad, because they are planning for when and then. Maybe in another 5 years, maybe another 10 years, we'll go on that trip to Italy, and I say, no, we're not promised tomorrow. And what I help clients do is front load their retirement, and I tell them the sobering reality that you're not promised another day. You're not promised another year, and especially when you're 65, I can assure you, you're not going to be moving as fast or faster when you're 75. So why don't we front load your retirement? Make sure you do all those bucket list items, for the first 10 years. And hey, after the first 10 years, if you still have plenty of money left over, we'll start that new clock over again and try it from ages 75 to 85. But we want to make sure we front load your retirement. One, because we're not promised tomorrow. We also don't know what the markets are going to do. And if the markets are up, which they are right now, why aren't we spending the money more than we, probably, again, initially designed with that shoestring retirement budget? We want to front load our retirement.
I love that. And then, yeah, like you said, then revisit it again and when you're 75 to 85 years old. There's something that you have called a checklist challenge, Andrew. And that's something that people can get in their hands today. I want you to explain how they can get that, please.
Well, all you have to do is go to whatyourmoneywouldSay.com/checklist. And I think a checklist is so important because when you're preparing for retirement, just like if you were preparing to fly a plane, you wouldn't just go into it empty-handed into the cockpit. You would have a checklist to make sure that even if you've flown this plane 180 times, that you are prepared. And the same thing happens for retirement. You only get one shot at this. And so we want to make sure that you and your family are prepared, that you've checked the tax dial, you've checked the estate planning dial before you start off on your journey into retirement. So again, go get that free resource at whatyourmoneywouldSay.com/checklist.
WhatyourmoneywouldSay.com slash checklist. That's kind of hard to say. And then also you offer a chance for people to come in and visit with you or even do a 15-minute phone call, don't you?
Absolutely. We call it our Swan sleep study. And again, it's not about sleep apnea equipment. Don't get alarmed. It's all about making sure that you're retirement ready, that make sure that you have a report card heading into retirement with straight A's. And this is so important because if we're planning a 30-year to 40-year retirement, we want straight A's going into retirement. We want to make sure that our estate planning, our tax planning, a long-term care, all of these things have been prepared for in case they do creep up. And we want to make sure, and the way to do that is a sleep study. Again, it's a 1-hour visit where we answer all the questions that you can muster about retirement, about tax planning. If you have questions for our estate planning attorney, Scott Malik, he would be there to answer those. And then after that 1-hour visit, we give you your retirement report card and say, hey, these are the things that you're doing really well on, and these are the things that you could definitely improve upon. And it's a really great exercise to go through. So take us up on it by calling 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768.
And Andrew is offering a chance for you to come in and meet him personally. Meet this guy that you hear on the radio every single week. He is local. He grew up in Pensacola. He and his wife, Natasha, are building a life here. So Andrew's going to be around for a long, long time. We just thank you so much for listening. This is What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair, President and CEO of Swan Capital. All right, so we've spent a lot of time focusing on our mental health. You just told us about a financial checkup that we can get from you to make sure we are in good shape to retire. Let's talk about this. What are you looking for when trying to gauge how financially healthy someone is?
Well, I think you have to go back to the retirement preparedness. If I ask a client, so do you have a copy of 2 years tax returns, a copy of all your investment statements, a copy of all your estate planning documents? They say, oh man, somewhere, or I hope I do. Many times we're just not as organized as we need to. So that's the first step, is getting organized. The second thing is making sure that you have enough gas in the tank for retirement. The last thing we want to do is go on a long journey. And if you've ever been in the same situation me and my spouse does, and she always elbows me saying, check the gas gauge, is when I go down this, mountain road where the gas station says no more gas stations for 25 miles. And you get into the car and you look at the gas gauge and you've been driving for 22 miles and you're like, are we going to make it? And you don't want to be like that in retirement. And so one of the rules of thumbs that you can use to make sure that you have enough gas in the tank is take your age times your income and divide by 10. Now, I'm not a big fan of rule of thumbs, but it's a good idea to at least check that, gas gauge as a rule of thumb, and that tells you if you're kind of on track or off track. Again, it's your age times your income divided by 10. So if you're 50 years old, you're making $100,000, that's $5 million, but divided by 10, that's $500,000. At age 50, if you're making $100,000, you should have at least $500,000 saved. If not, that means you got to do even more planning. People say, oh, should I just give up? No, you shouldn't give up. You just need to do even more planning. That's all it means.
That's good. I like that. I'll tell my husband that. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Our age times our income divided by 10, and that's the amount of money would be a good idea to have saved. So we have a lot more to go. A lot.
Well, we
gotta
haven't
work
started off
more.
on that journey, right? Where
Yeah.
there's 25 miles of no
Yes.
gas stations.
And
So
that
not
made me
yet.
think. Okay, so when I was young, I was so oblivious to the gas gauge on in my car. I tell you, when I first got married, I probably ran out of gas 3 times, and it's amazing that my husband has stayed with me for 38 years. But I finally learned to look at the gas gauge. But I was so
That's
bad
funny.
about that.
Just keep one of those 5-gallon tanks in the,
I
in the
know,
back of the
yeah.
trunk.
I mean, I'd be driving, and all of a sudden, I'd just start coasting. I'm like, oh no, I don't have any more
no.
gas.
Oh man!
You do-
Now you have power steering, and
Oh, yeah.
when it goes out, you're like, oh
You're really
no.
stuck. Yeah, you're just like coasting, and you can't do one thing about it. But definitely make sure that you have that you look at your gauge of your money for retirement before you head in there. That's
Yes.
a really good idea. When does it make sense, Andrew, to get a second opinion on our financial future?
Sure. This is a good writer downer. It's impossible to get a second opinion from the person that gave you your first, right? If you're having a major diagnosis in your health and mental health, maybe in your physical health, I hope you get a second opinion. And many times when it comes to your finances, you may be working with a nice broker, banker, insurance salesperson. They're really nice people out there. But you have to ask yourself, can I do better? Why am I listening to this show if I don't think I can do better? Why am I going to one of our live events if I don't think I can do better? It's somewhere in our gut, and sometimes we got to trust our gut. We think there's got to be a way I can do better. And that's the whole point of offering a second opinion like we do, because it's impossible to get a second opinion from the person that gave you your first.
Wow, that is great advice. Yeah, don't go back to them again and ask them the same thing. You got to go to someone else.
We shouldn't have to give advice to our advice givers.
Yeah, no, we should not. Are you kidding? Yeah. Andrew, one thing we haven't touched on yet is estate planning. Of course, that's what this retirement is all about, right? We got to make sure that
Well, that's the last leg of the journey, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
there
if
you
you
go.
do have a full gas gauge, it's the last leg of the journey. And we don't just leave that up to chance either. That's why we have Scott Malik. He's an estate planning attorney. We work with many attorneys, but we actually have Scott Malik here in our office. And it's so important to make sure on that last leg of the journey that we don't have, are we there yet? We have fights in the kids in the background. That's what happens. There's no family unity when there's not it in black and white documents that are listing out your wishes. And that's what we try to make sure that we keep is family unity. So it's so important to make sure that you do have a last will and testament, that you do have a financial and medical power of attorney, a living will to pull the plug or not to pull the plug. That's such an important decision. And you don't want to leave that up to chance. You don't want to leave that up to people's opinions that they're bickering about. And then again, that last will and testament. And then if you own your home and it's paid free and clear and it's owned jointly with you and your spouse, or maybe it's solely in your name, do you have a plan to avoid or minimize probate on that home? Because once you run out of spouses, the beneficiaries doesn't automatically go to your only child on your home. You want to make sure you check into a life estate or check into a trust. And Scott Malik can help you on that last leg of your journey to make sure that there's no bickering in the car, but instead that you have that family unity. Now, if you're listening and you say, that's me, Andrew, I've been thinking about getting those documents done, and we are on our last leg of a journey. Hopefully we got 20, 30 years of retirement, but we don't want to make sure that there's any bickering in the car. All you have to do is schedule one of our sleep study visits, and that's where we'll bring in Scott Malik, an estate planning attorney who will sit down with your family and share with you what documents you and your family specifically need. He'll look through the documents you already have, and he'll say, hey, this power of attorney is in good shape. You don't need to redo it. You don't have to pay any attorney to redo it. This is fine. He'll give his little stamp of approval. And it's such a great visit where we can combine tax planning, estate planning, and financial planning into one visit we call our sleep study. So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768. 8768 and leave a voicemail with your name and information, and someone on Monday will be able to give you a call to schedule that visit.